So when COVID first happened, the shutdown took place, we were, I think like most places, caught on the hop. And there was that overused word of being unprecedented and what do we do from here. So fortunately we had enough people with nous around the place who were able to put together online services, and fortunately as well associated with that we had people who had access to old recordings, well not so old, but recordings that we'd made in the last few years of whether it's evensongs or Sunday morning services, both audio and video recordings that we were able to use initially to put together some online services. And then when it was worked out that we could actually have limited use of the church, and I guess that coincided with when we were starting to run out of some of the material from the pre-recorded archive, we then would get a soloist to come in each week, usually on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night or something. They would record a piece of music and also sing the psalm as well. This went on for a number of weeks. Then eventually, and again this was all to do with getting our collective heads around the restrictions that we had for COVID, we were able to get a group of about 10 singers into the church, and these singers were for the most part our scholarship holders with a couple of extras, and we would have them down the front of the church, obviously though appropriately spaced according to social distancing measures, and we would record choral repertoire. For example, one of the first weeks we recorded a mass by Adrian, Batten, and this actually ended up being quite a positive experience because we were able to do some repertoire that we hadn't done before, and we were able to explore this idea of performing repertoire or presenting repertoire with a smaller group of singers, and I actually think it was a really positive experience for the singers that were involved in that. As the restrictions were further relaxed, we then started having slightly larger groups of singers into the church. I think we expanded our initial 8 up to a group of about 12 or 14, did some slightly more complex repertoire. And then eventually by about, I think it was late July of 2020, we were able finally to have the full choir back in the church. This coincided roughly too with when in situ worship services recommenced as well. The adjustments we had to make were fairly significant though. We had to space the choir out within the church. And again, this was a really positive experience. It actually allowed us to make better use of the space that we have here, and it also forced people into sort of readjusting the way that they sing, and in terms of the listening that was required, I think it really improved people's ensemble singing as a result. One week when I think it was the sudden lockdown that we had towards the end of November, where everything was shut down again very briefly, we were able to come in shortly after that and put together an evensong service in the church, but spread out right through the main section of the pews, through the body of the church, to sing a Mag and Nunc, and the result was really quite exceptional. And of course, ultimately, we had everyone back. The restrictions eased further, and this has really only been in the last few weeks that we've had the choir back to full capacity within the choir stalls. There's still a little bit of overflow from time to time. As has been the case in a number of places, Pilgrim is no exception. The pandemic has taken a financial toll on the church. We're very fortunate here, though, that with the Stowe Music Fund becoming active just at the right time, and with the Stowe Music Fund being very specific as to how the money is to be used, we were able to continue paying our choral scholars right through 2020, and it became an absolutely necessary thing that those choral scholars were able to sing here when we had the time when we had to have just the scholars singing for services. I think that was probably one of the main things that sort of kept the services going in many ways. The music, the singing in the 11 a.m. service is such a crucial part of the service, and to have that reassurance that the funds would be there to pay our scholars was a very comforting thing. And I also think the other perspective here as well is that musicians were one of those groups of people hit hardest from a financial point of view by the pandemic. Speaking personally, I lost most of my freelance work that I would do outside the church when the pandemic hit, and I think it was a really good thing that the church was in fact able to supply some work for these musicians during the pandemic shutdown. And again, it's largely thanks to the Stowe Music Fund that was able to be done.